What? Oh, we're doing a video? All right. Yeah, hey, what's up? Jeff Lerner here. We're gonna talk about waking up earlier. In all seriousness, this is a video about waking up early, and especially how to wake up early if you're not a morning person. And I will say, it's really tempting to just say, get over your damn self and become a morning person. And I know that's not a practical answer. I'm gonna give you some other more practical tips and guidance, but like seriously, if you read books, I mean, the number one thing that got me out of this rut of saying I wasn't a morning person is I just started reading about successful people. If you read books about really successful people throughout history, they win the morning. Like, they get their butts up early. Eventually it became not so much, well, what kind of person am I? I'm not a morning person. It's what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of life do I want to live? Like, who are my role models? Whose results do I want to emulate? And I realized eventually, okay, I'm saying I want a life that looks more like all these other people. And one of the things that they all have in common is that they get up early. They get up earlier than most. I guess I just shouldn't accept this excuse for myself anymore that I'm not a morning person. And I get circadian rhythms, and I get sleep cycles, and I get that there's, maker schedule versus manager schedule. And like, I've done the research and I understand. Listen, I was a jazz musician for a decade. From, I guess I started technically playing music as a full-time focus when I was 17. All the way through when I was 28. That was my primary thing that I did, both academically and professionally. So, I was playing gigs till, my first gig would end at 2 in the morning, and then I'd go to the jam session and play from 3 to 6. And I'd come home and I'd be asleep by 6:30 or 7, and I'd be up by noon. Like, I lived that life for a decade. There was no one that was more of a night person than me. And I realize that's more extreme than what most people are talking about when they say I'm just not a morning person. I remember I was at an event, which there's a clue there. Go to events, go to personal development events, go to professional development events, invest in growing yourself as a person. I was in an event and I was listening to a guy named Wayne Allen Root speak. And Wayne Root's a pretty incredible guy. He's not everyone's cup of tea. He's kind of a controversial figure, and he's, kind of does politics and commentary, whatnot. A really, really incredible guy, has an incredible story, and he does a presentation called Relentless. In his kind of signature talk, he talks about these things called positive addictions, things that he does that they have an addictive quality to them, so they almost feel like an indulgence, but they're actually really good for you. And one of his positive addictions is that he allows himself an early morning walk. And if you look throughout history, a lot of really successful, dynamic, creative people have believed in the early morning walk. Like Beethoven, for example, would go out and walk in his garden before he would write music. And by the way, got up early, didn't do anything with his day until, I think Beethoven was all music until lunchtime. So he would get up, he would go for an early morning walk, and he would write music until lunchtime. And from lunchtime until evening, Beethoven was a fairly normal guy. But prior to noon, or prior to lunchtime every day, Beethoven was this crazed, maniac composer who walked in his garden and wrote music, and that's all he did. Anyways, so the early morning walk was one of his positive addictions. And so one of the things that Wayne talked about in his presentation was how to retrain yourself to get up earlier. So I'm giving credit where it's due. This is his idea, not mine. But I actually went home and I used what he taught, and I used it over the course of the next, I guess it would be about 4 months. I changed my wake-up time by 2 hours. The time, not the time that I forced myself to wake up, but the time that I naturally wanted to wake up. And what he said is, every morning or every night, set your alarm clock for 1 minute earlier than the day before. If you've been getting up at 8 o'clock, tomorrow get up at 7:59. The next day get up at 7:58, 7:57. And what will happen is your body won't notice the change. It's small enough increments that it doesn't throw your body clock off. But basically, you rewire yourself by 30 minutes a month. So after 30 days, you'll be getting up 30 minutes earlier. I did that for 4 months and changed my wake-up time from 8 a.m. to 6 a.m. At that time in my life, that was a really, really big deal. Since then, I've gone on to adjust it much further to where now, depending on, a lot of it has to do with my kids' school schedule, because I have a certain set things that I want to have done before I come home, and I like to spend time with the kids, get them ready for school, sometimes participate in taking them to school, but I have these things that I want to get done before that. So depending on what year it is and what the kid's school schedule is, I've had wake up times that range anywhere over the last several years from 3:45 in the morning to 5 o'clock in the morning. And so it's always kind of in that window. And I just tune it accordingly, basically force adjust my circadian rhythm. But in that term, circadian rhythm basically just means your body's schedule of when it naturally wakes up, when it releases melatonin at night to start the process of you falling into sleep, and then the different sleep cycles that you go into. There's some really great articles on the internet. The other big thing that I did is I realized this alarm clock thing doesn't work. If you set your alarm clock, whether it's 1 minute earlier or 15 minutes earlier or what, and then you just hit snooze. Why is it that the snooze interval is always 9 minutes? Wyatt, will you make a note? Let's do a video on the 9-minute snooze interval. But anyways, it doesn't do you any good to get up 15 minutes or to wake up 15 minutes earlier and then not actually get up and then snooze and chew up all the same time. So the other thing that made a really, really big impact on me, it's called the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins, Robbins. Maybe we can get a link to the book down below this video or something. But anyway, the 5-second rule was a really, really powerful concept. And basically what it says is, and this has impacted me in so many different aspects of life, in terms of creativity and pursuing ideas and taking initiative and going to the gym and just all the things that we kind of have to force ourselves to do. Every day I start my day with the 5-second rule. And the 5-second rule basically says there's a natural process that kicks in the human mind after about 5 seconds, where you start thinking of all the reasons why something's not a good idea. Basically things move into the, I think if I remember, they move into the frontal lobe. The idea kind of percolates, and then the frontal lobe is your rational processing center, and it'll start giving you all the reasons why something's not a good idea, or it's not the right time, or you have these other things you have to do. And it's basically a survival mechanism. The human mind has a survival mechanism that's wired into us from tens of thousands of years of development, or hundreds of thousands, or whatever, that basically says, talk yourself out of new ideas. Because new ideas could lead to danger, because there could be a warring tribe around the corner, or there could be a snake in the jungle, or there could be a saber-toothed tiger outside the cave. So whenever you have a new idea, this mad process in the brain happens that takes about 5 seconds to get to where it says, no, don't do that, right? And so when you wake up in the morning, the decision to hit the snooze button usually is a process of about 5 seconds of deliberation, where you come up with all these reasons why it's okay, and well, I can brush my teeth while I make my breakfast, or I can, skip my breakfast bar this morning, or I can just grab something on the way out the door. I can come up with some other way to compress time that'll buy me this extra 9 minutes or 18 minutes or 27 minutes or whatever it turns into snoozing. And you explain to yourself why it's okay to hit the snooze button in the first 5 seconds of your morning. Get out of bed in those 5 seconds. If your feet are planted on the ground, your ass is up off the mattress within those 5 seconds, then the 5-second rule works for you, not against you. By the time your body tells you, or your brain convinces you that maybe it would even be a remotely good idea to hit the snooze button, you need to already be in motion. That was the biggest thing for me that helped me get to where I really had command over this part of my life, is that I would wake up and it took some fits and starts. It wasn't like perfect on day one, but I would wake up and literally I would start counting backwards from 5. I would wake up, I would come to, and I would go, wait, wait, hold on, no, there's that 5-second thing. Okay, 5, 4, 3, and I would wait. I wouldn't get up on 4, I wouldn't get up on 3, 2, and I go, God, you're such a loser. Get out of bed. 1, boom, I'm up. And I trained myself to always, 4 seconds is fine. If it takes you 4 seconds to get out of bed, awesome. You're way ahead of most people. If it takes you 6, you're likely to hit the snooze button. That's how you make yourself get up earlier, is retrain yourself with the alarm clock, use the 5-second rule to not allow yourself to stay in bed. So now let's talk about the other part of getting up early, which is going to bed early, or going to bed strategically. The more you can make it consistent, have consistent start and stop times for your sleep, the easier it gets to be into a routine and a cycle, and your circadian rhythm will eventually, and I know there's people that say, oh, it's hopeless, you're a night person, you're a day person. BS. Go talk to Navy SEALs about whether or not sleep is the need to sleep at certain times is an unmanageable condition. It's not. Your body eventually will recalibrate based on the demands that you put on it. So if you need to be getting up at a certain time, make yourself be going to bed at a certain time. And there's 2 main hacks that I have for empowering myself to go to sleep at the time that I need to go to sleep. The first of all involves that chemical I talked about, melatonin. So melatonin, there's a lot of sleep aids out there, right? There's melatonin, there's valerian root, there's Sominex and Unisom, which are basically antihistamines. They're like taking Benadryl. There's the nighttime cold medications like NyQuil and Tylenol PM, and just all these things people put in their bodies to force themselves to sleep. The reason I like melatonin is because it's the body's own chemical that it naturally releases to tell you that it's time to go to bed. And it's generally wired to light, to sunlight. So the way the body's sort of engineered to work is that when the sun goes down, the body releases melatonin, which sort of eases you into that it's time to go to sleep. The problem is we've totally screwed up our brains with all of the lights, screens and blue lights and all the indoor lighting. Like, we never really experience light and dark in the way that our ancestors did for the most of the development of our species. And so we've kind of thrown off the process in the brain. So if you take melatonin, usually I try to take it an hour before the time I actually want to go to sleep. And that's basically tricking the body into feeling like, hey, the sun just went down, it's time to start to wind down. Because think about it, for most of human history, like, the best you had was a candle, maybe, or a torch that you could walk around with. Like, once the sun went down, you started to get pretty limited on what you could actually do. So it was just natural to go to sleep. So you're essentially recreating that process in your brain and your body by taking melatonin about an hour before the time that you want to go to sleep. The other thing, the other sort of hack to pinpoint a bedtime and try to drive yourself to that bedtime is something I've read, and I can't remember. I want to say, I know it was in an article by Craig Ballantyne. I don't remember if he created it, but it really doesn't matter. It's called 10-3-2-1-0, the 10-3-2-1-0 rule. I actually have another video I did about 10-3-2-1 if you want to hear more about it. But basically, 10-3-2-1 says 10 hours before the time I want to go to sleep, I cut out all caffeine. 3 hours before the time I want to go to sleep, I cut out all food and alcohol. 2 hours before the time I want to go to sleep, I stop doing any work. 1 hour before the time I want to go to sleep, I turn off all screens. Or if you have to be on a screen, at least flip it into nighttime mode, or get a blue light filter, or get those glasses that filter out the blue lights or something. But ideally, just turn off screens an hour before bed. And then the 0 is I will not hit my snooze button. 0 is the number of times I will hit my snooze button. So 10-3-2-1-0 is a formula for kind of reverse engineering your day to lead up to your sleep time. And so if you have 10 hours, you cut out caffeine. 3 hours, you cut out food. 2 hours, you cut out work. 1 hour, you turn off your screens, take your melatonin, and then fall asleep saying, I will not hit the snooze button. I will not hit the snooze button. Wake up. As soon as you wake up, start counting backwards from 5. Get your butt out of bed. Get your feet on the ground. That's it. You'll change your life. And if you take that whole cycle and shift it by 1 minute every day, then you can very naturally, very comfortably re-engineer your life to start a half hour earlier every day, every month, 30 minutes per month, that you can make that adjustment. It'll change everything. I can say that in the last, I guess it was summer 2016, my wife and I kind of got on I call it a kick, but people say they get on a kick. It usually means it expires. For us, it hasn't expired, but we got on a firm commitment that we're going to start getting up, typically in the 3s and 4s, right? Depending on our kids' school schedule, and we haven't deviated from it. And in those 3 years, I've accomplished more than I probably did in the previous 15 in terms of productivity, initiative, creating new things, creating value, creating wealth, creating opportunity for myself, creating a great life for my family. Everything, if you go search around and look at Jeff Lerner and look at my training and look at my community and look at my brand and look at everything I've built online, it's all a function of what's happened in my life in the last few years since I got really, really religious about getting up earlier than most people do. And this is the method that I use to train myself. I'll kind of close by saying what I say about so many things, which is that the answers to most questions are pretty simple, but simple isn't easy. It's not easy to do the work. It's simple to understand what work needs to be done, but it's not easy to do the work. The doing of the work, you'll do the work if you have a big enough reason why you're going to do the work. And for most people, it's a shortfall or it's a limitation of what it is that they're actually trying to do with their life that keeps them from taking big enough action to actually naturally lead to a really awesome outcome. I say life is meant to be awesome, but you got to do the work. So for most people, it's the actual belief that life is meant to be awesome, the clarity of the vision and the picture of what your awesome life looks like, and then saying, I'll do whatever it takes to get there. And my guess is that part of whatever it takes is going to involve getting up earlier. It does for most people. So I hope that that's helpful to you. If you're into this awesome life thing and you think that having an awesome life is something you'd like to consider pursuing, and I would encourage you to consider pursuing it. That's what my channel is all about, is how to have a more awesome life, hacks, tips, strategies. I've basically dedicated my life to helping people have a more awesome life, starting with myself. Don't feel guilty about that at all. And if you're into that kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. I'll have lots more videos for you. And make sure you click the bell to get notified as new videos come live. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks for your time.